Toma was used to silence. The deep space cargo ship called Mira had been floating alone near the edge of a dying star system. For many days, its engines were broken. The communication system was weak. Only 2 people had been assigned to this transport, and now Toma was the only one left. The captain had died in his sleep during cryo rest, and Toma was still trying to understand why he spent most of his time in the lower sections of the ship, trying to repair systems or look for spare parts. The lights flickered often. The oxygen levels were low, but still safe. Food was rationed. He kept himself busy. Toma was not a hero. He was just a technician from Earth, doing a quiet job that no one noticed. But on the 22nd day alone, something strange happened while checking the sealed cargo units in the cold storage deck. Toma's scanner picked up weak life signs. At first, he thought it was a glitch. He scanned again. The signal was real, very faint but steady. It came from a large metal pod near the back of the room. Hidden behind old supply crates, the pod was marked with faded writing in a language Toma didn't recognize. There was no entry in the ship's database about it. It looked older than the ship itself, covered in a thick layer of frost. The pod had one small window, fogged up from the inside. Toma wiped it carefully. He stepped back in surprise. Inside was a person, not a human, but a humanoid. A girl. Her skin was pale silver with soft patterns glowing under her skin like veins made of light. Her hair floated around her like fine strands of silk. Her eyes were closed. Her hands were folded across her chest. She was not wearing any suit, just a long, smooth covering that looked part of her body. Toma stared for a long moment. They checked the life signs again. Still there, very weak. He didn't know who she was or how she got there. The ship's logs said nothing about any alien cargo. Toma had a choice. He could leave her inside, safe, but fading. Or he could try to wake her. Toma powered up the medical systems in the cryopod. It beeped and hummed. The machine was old, but it still worked. Warming procedures began. The lights inside the pod shifted from blue to green. Mist escaped. From the sides, a long sigh echoed from the machine. Then she moved. Her fingers twitched first. Then her eyelids fluttered. Her eyes opened wide. They were deep violet with rings of light moving slowly inside. She looked confused. She looked afraid. Toma raised both hands and stepped back, trying to show he meant no harm. It's okay, he said in a soft voice. You're safe. She didn't understand. Her breathing quickened. She looked around the pod, then stared at Toma with growing panic. She spoke something sharp and fast, in a language he couldn't recognize. Her voice was soft but filled with tension. Toma tried again. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. She looked at him, confused. Then she pressed her hands against the inside of the pod's glass. Her palms left glowing marks on the surface. The pod door clicked and hissed. It opened slowly. Cold air rushed out. Stepped out unsteady, holding the wall. Her legs trembled. She stared at Toma like she expected him to attack. Toma didn't move. He waited. After a long moment, she took a step closer. She touched his shirt, then pulled back, her head tilted slightly, curious. Then she whispered something again in her language. Her voice softened a little. Toma tapped his comm link and activated the ship's translation program. It was old and slow, but it had a library of alien languages from first contact missions. It began scanning. Her voice spoke again. The system processed. A moment later, a broken translation came through. Where's this? Toma smiled gently. You're on a cargo ship called Mira, he said. My name is Toma. I found you. She looked around. How long? She asked. I don't know. Toma said. You've been in cryosleep for a long time. Maybe decades. The girl's eyes lowered. She seemed lost in thought. Then her gaze shifted back to him. She pointed at herself. Ina, she said. Toma nodded. Ina, he repeated, but she froze when she heard the way he said it. Her body became still. Her eyes locked onto his. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Then she stepped back. What did you say? She whispered. Slowly. Toma frowned. Your name? Ina. She stared at him, her face pale only. My mother called me that, she said in a low voice. No one else knows that name. Toma felt a chill run through him. I just repeated what you said. She shook her head. No, You said it the same way, the same sound, the same voice. My mother spoke it like that. The others, they call me something else. You said it like her for a long moment. Silence filled the cargo bay. Toma didn't know what to say. Ina looked at him like he had just opened a door from a past she thought was lost. Sat down on a crate slowly, her strength fading. I don't understand this, she said. You are not like the others. Toma sat down too, keeping a little distance. I don't understand either, he said, but maybe we can find answers together. Ina looked at him for a while, then gave a small nod. Somewhere deep in the ship, a warning light blinked. Power systems were still failing. The ship was still dying, but now there were two people on board and something strange had begun. The cargo ship Mira drifted slowly through space. Outside, the stars looked cold and far. Inside, Toma worked hard to keep the systems alive. The power core was growing weaker. Oxygen levels were dropping a little every day. But now, he had a reason to fight harder. He was not alone anymore. Reina stayed quiet most of the time. She walked slowly and kept her distance. Her body was still recovering from the long sleep. Her steps were soft. She moved like someone who had forgotten what it meant to be awake. But her eyes watched everything. Toma set up a small living space near the control room. He brought food, packs, water, and warm blankets. He gave Ina a seat close to the emergency heater. She sat there, silent, staring at the ship whilst they shared meals in silence. The ship's old translator worked slowly, but learned more of her language every hour. Toma talked gently, choosing simple words. Ina answered with short phrases and day. Toma asked again, "Do you remember where you came from?" Ina looked up. Her hands rested on her lap. She nodded slowly. "I remember light, blue towers, trees with glass leaves, my mother's voice. Then, fire, people running. She told me to sleep. She told me to be strong. Then I was gone." She touched her chest gently. She placed her hand here and said my name, Ina. That was the last thing I heard. Toma listened quietly. Her words felt like pieces of a lost puzzle. "I think something went wrong," he said. "Your pod wasn't supposed to be here. It wasn't even listed in the ship logs." Ina frowned. She trusted them, the humans. She said they would protect me. Toma nodded. "Then something must have happened. Maybe someone tried to hide you." He walked to the old terminal and started searching through hidden data files. The ship had hundreds of logs, most marked as low priority. But one folder was locked with a strange tag. It was labeled First Contact Classified. Toma tried opening it. The system asked for a code. He didn't have it, so he connected his repair tools and used a slow decode method. "The process would take hours." "Ina," he said, turning toward her, "do you know what species you are? What your people called themselves?" Ina looked unsure. She shook her head. "I was small. I didn't know much. I only knew our songs and stories. I remember one word my mother used for us. It sounded like Norelli." Toma typed it into the translator. The system made a match. The word appeared in one of the oldest Earth mission reports. The Norelli were a peaceful race discovered during deep exploration almost 60 years ago. The contact was brief. Then, the report said, the planet vanished during a political conflict. The Earth database listed them as lost. Species unknown. Toma showed her the screen. Ina read the words slowly. "This was us," she whispered. Her eyes became wet. She turned away and took a deep breath. For a long time, she said nothing. Later, she asked Toma, "Why did you say my name like that?" Toma sat down beside her. "I don't know. When I first heard you speak it, something in me felt right, like I had heard it before. Maybe from a song, maybe a dream. I don't know." Ina stared at him. "You said it exactly like her. The tone, the shape. That cannot be random." Toma shook his head. "I'm just a technician. I fix things. I've never seen anyone like you before." They both sat in silence for a while. Then Toma stood and went to check the decoding progress. It was at 30%. Ship lights dimmed for a moment. Another system was failing. Aside. "We need to get out of here soon. This ship won't last much longer." Ina stood and walked toward him. Her hand touched the console gently. Her skin glowed faintly. The screen responded faster. The decode bar jumped forward. Toma blinked. What did you just do? Ina pulled her hand back. I don't know. It just happened. They stared at the screen. It finished decoding the locked files. A new message opened into Earth Command subject. Project Norelli Refugeite was a voice recording. A woman's voice spoke, clear and steady. This is Dr. Ellen from the exploration team. I am sending this message in secret. The Norelli people have trusted us with their child. The conflict on their world has turned deadly. We agreed to help them evacuate one survivor to preserve their legacy. The child is in cryosleep inside Unit 9 on Transport Mira. Her name is Ina. Her mother was the last high scientist of the Norelli Corps. Toma paused the message and looked at Inash stood frozen. Her hand covered her mouth. My mother. She trusted the humans. Ina whispered. Adoma played the rest of the message. If anything happens to this ship, I ask that any human who finds her remember this name, Ina. Speak it with care. She is more than a child. She carries the last memory of her people. Protect her, teach her, and let her hear her name again. Only her mother called her. That the message ended. Ina sat down slowly. Her body shook. You said it, just like she did, because she asked someone to say it. She believed someone would. Ina whispered. Adoma felt something shift inside him. This was no longer just a broken ship and a lost cargo. This was something bigger. Looked at Ina. I think your mother believed in humanity more than we believed in ourselves. Ina smiled faintly. Then I will believe too. Toma stood and opened a panel. He pulled out a hidden map file the logs had unlocked. It showed a location marked in deep space, near a system long thought dead. But this map showed signs of life, coordinates, a hidden route. Toma looked at Ina. Do you want to find your people? Ina looked at the map, then back at him. Yes. If they are out there, I want to see them again. The ship creaked. Another alarm sounded in the background. Time was running out. Toma walked to the pilot station and started rerouting power to the engines. The ship would need all the strength it had left to move. Ina stood beside him, her eyes steady, her voice calm. Let's go find them. And together, they began to prepare for the journey. The ship Mira was old and tired, but it moved. Engines rattled as they pushed forward toward the coordinates from the secret message. Toma had rerouted every system to save power for the engines and life support. The lights were dim, the heating was low, but the ship was moving again, and that gave them hope. Toma stood by the pilot console, eyes focused on the star map. Ina sat beside him, her hands folded. She had not spoken much since hearing her mother's voice from the old recording, but Toma could tell something had changed in her. She seemed stronger, more awake. The journey would take 3 days. In that time, the ship passed through a dark area of space with no signals and no stars close by. It was quiet, but also strange. Sometimes, Ina would stop and stare at the walls, as if listening to something only she could hear. In the second day, Toma noticed her sitting near the old data core. Her hands were resting on the cold metal surface. Her eyes were closed. Walked closer and asked, Are you okay? Ina opened her eyes slowly. This part of the ship remembers something. I can feel it. Toma raised an eyebrow. Remembers? You mean the ship? Yes, the systems, the metal. It holds sound, echoes. My people could sense memory from places. Not clear pictures, but feelings. Bits of voices, energy. It's hard to explain. Toma sat down on the floor near her. Can you show me? Ina reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were cold, but her skin was smooth and calm. For a moment, Toma felt nothing. Then, a soft hum passed through his body. A faint whisper touched his ear. Heard a voice. It was not clear, but it was human. A woman speaking with care. Keep her safe. Please, keep her safe. Toma pulled back slightly. His heart was beating faster. That was from before, wasn't it? Ina nodded. It was my mother. That voice is locked in this part of the ship. She stood here before I was sent into sleep. Toma looked at the panel again. It was just a piece of metal and wire. But now it felt different. It had held a moment of love and fear for so many years. Ina, he said gently. Your people were special. You still are. Ina looked at him. We were not strong like others. Not fast, but we listened to the stars. We felt what machines could not. That is why my mother wanted to Save our memory. She thought your people would understand someday, Toma nodded. Some of us do. Some of us forget. But I will try to understand later that day. Toma searched more of the logs with Ina's help. Now that she could connect with parts of the ship through touch, some doors opened more easily. She guided Toma to a locked room near the lower deck. The door had not opened in years. It was covered in dust and wearing together. They pulled away the old panels and used a power link to start the backup system with a slow hiss. The door opened and inside was a hidden lab room was filled with small stasis chambers, most of them empty. One still held a clear container filled with liquid. Inside it floated a small orb, glowing with soft blue light. Ina stepped forward slowly. My mother's knowledge core, she whispered. Doma looked confused. What is it? It holds her thoughts, her science, her hopes. If she did not return, this was meant to be given to me. She wanted me to learn everything she could not teach me herself. Toma stepped back. Can you take it? Ina reached out and touched the orb. The glow spread through her hand. Then her arms. She closed her eyes. Her body began to tremble. Toma moved forward, worried. Ina? She took a deep breath and opened her eyes. It's okay. It's working. I can feel her thoughts. They are soft and warm. She was afraid, but full of hope. She believed this ship would carry me to safety. Toma smiled. She was right. It did, even if it took longer than planned. Ina held the orb close to her chest. Now I know more. I remember our home better. I remember the name of our last city. I remember the faces of our stars. And I remember the people who betrayed us. Toma looked at her closely. What do you mean? Ina sat down. Her voice was steady, but low. There were others. Not all humans were kind. Some wanted our knowledge, not our peace. My mother knew this. That is why she hid me in this ship. Only a few trusted humans were part of the mission. But others tried to erase the truth. Toma clenched his hands. We made a mistake. My people should have protected yours. Ina looked at him. You are protecting me now. That matters. The next morning, the ship reached the edge of the old system marked on the map. A planet appeared ahead, covered in clouds and light. Toma slowed the engines and ran scans. There were signs of life, buildings, signals, but weak, as if hidden deep underground. Ina stared at the planet. This is it. The memory said it was called Cyril, a hidden world where the last of us may have gone. Toma checked the systems. We're too far for a safe landing. We need to get closer. As they moved ahead, a sudden alarm filled the ship. A strange energy wave passed over them. The screens flickered. Lights blinked. Then the ship's defense systems turned on by themselves. Vestama jumped into the pilot chair. Something just scanned us. Not from the planet. From above. He checked the radar. A dark shape appeared on the edge of the screen. A ship. Not human. Not Norelli. Big. Fast. And coming straight for Ina touched the screen. Her eyes narrowed. I know that ship. They hunted us. Machines built by those who feared our gifts. They collect living memories. They will try to take me. Toma stood quickly. Then we fight. Or we run. But we won't let them take you. Ina placed the knowledge orb into the console. Then let me help. I remember how to use what my mother left behind. The ship mirror, once broken and forgotten, now lit up with a new glow. Old systems awakened. New energy flowed through its frame. Toma looked around in awe. Did you just wake the ship? No. Ina said softly. The ship woke for me. They had no idea what waited outside. But Toma and Ina were no longer running in fear. They were ready to face whatever came next. Toma kept his hands firm on the controls as the alien ship moved closer. Its surface looked like metal and bone fused together. It had no visible windows or lights. Just a dark shell that floated like a silent shadow. The ship was quiet, but Toma knew it was watching. Femina stood beside him. Her eyes were fixed on the screen. The orb from her mother was still glowing inside the console. Its soft light spread across the ship's systems. The mirror felt different now. The ship no longer felt broken. It felt alive. The enemy ship stopped at a distance. Then a sound filled the control room. A voice that sounded both like a whisper and a machine spoke through the comm system. You are carrying forbidden memory. Release the Norelli or be destroyed, Toma replied quickly. We are not giving anyone up. Back off, the voice answered again. Calm but cold. Human, you are not part of this. She holds the last living code. She belongs to the archive. Ina stepped forward and spoke in her language. The translator tried its best. She belongs to no one. My people are not data. We are not yours to collect. The enemy voice went silent and red lights flashed on the ship's screen. The enemy ship powered its weapons. Toma knew they had only seconds to act. Turned to Ina. Can your mother's knowledge help us escape? Ina placed both hands on the control panel. Yes, but I need to connect fully. The orb must be placed in the heart of the ship. Toma helped her carry the orb to the power core. It was an old round chamber deep inside the ship. The core had been weak for weeks, but now the orb pulsed with new life as Ina placed it into the central slot. The walls of the chamber lit up. Energy flowed through the ship's vines. The ship shook slightly, then the lights became steady. The ship's voice, long silent, spoke again in a soft tone. Primary pilot detected. Norelli command accepted. System restored. Toma ran back to the control room. The screens now showed new paths. Defensive tools came online. A shield formed around the ship just as a blast from the enemy hit. The impact shook the mirror, but the shield held in a return, her face calm. My mother built these systems with your engineers. They trusted each other. Now we will use their gift. The enemy ship fired again, but this time, Toma moved the mirror swiftly. The ship was faster than before. It dodged and returned a pulse wave that pushed the attacker back. Toma laughed a little. Now this feels like a real ship again. Ina gave a small smile. The ship listens to you too. It accepts both of us. More attacks came, but the mirror held strong. Toma flew the ship between debris fields, using the old cargo as cover. The enemy chased them closely. Ina guided him with star maps stored in her memory. She pointed toward a path that led around a small moon. Behind that moon was a narrow wormhole. Toma's eyes widened. That wormhole is unstable. We could get torn apart. Ina placed her hand on his arm. It is unstable for machines that do not feel, but my people use sound and balance to pass through. My mother's song holds the key. She closed her eyes and began to hum. A soft melody echoed through the ship. The tones were not random. They shifted with the movement of stars. The ship reacted. Panels adjusted. Engines pulsed in rhythm with her voice. The wormhole opened like a spiral gate. The enemy ship paused, uncertain. Toma took the chance and flew straight into its ship. Shook as it entered. Colors twisted around them. Time slowed. Toma saw shadows of moments that did not belong to this place, and a song grew louder. She held the melody steady. The ship followed her tune like a boat following a lighthouse in a storm. Inside the wormhole, Toma saw a strange flash. He saw Ina as a child, smiling in a field of glowing plants. He saw her mother standing under the suns, looking up. He saw himself as a boy, fixing a broken light in a cold workshop on Earth. The ship was showing their memories, not just as images, but as feelings. Ina opened her eyes. The wormhole listens to truth. It reflects the souls inside. That is why we had to come together. Alone, we would be lost, but together, we are seen. Toma nodded slowly. Then let's keep going. Together the ship passed through the wormhole and came out on the other side. Before them stood a planet. It was green and silver, with clouds swirling around it. 3 moons floated nearby. Toma scanned the surface. Life signs were present. Not many, but Clarina stared at the planet. This is what remains, a hidden world. A place my people once prepared as a last hope. As the mirror moved closer, a small signal appeared on the screen. A voice came through, soft and musical. You carry the song. You carry Ina. You are welcome. Toma blinked. They know you. They're alive. In his eyes filled with tears. Not all, but some. Enough to begin again. The ship slowly descended toward the surface. Fields of blue plants waved below. Tall towers stood half covered in vines, but still strong. Lights lit up as they approached. A landing pad opened as they landed. A group of tall figures stepped forward. Their skin was like Ina's but marked with age. One elder woman walked ahead. Her hair was silver and her eyes deep with time. She spoke in Ina's language. The translator gave the words, "Daughter of Ellen." "We waited for your light." Ina stepped forward. The elder placed a hand on her head. A soft wind passed around them. Toma stayed back, watching with respect. He felt something inside him grow quiet and peaceful. He had brought her home. The elder turned to Toma. "You spoke her name with truth. That means you carry part of her mother's wish. You are not just a visitor. You are a guardian of memory." Toma nodded slowly. "I'm just someone who listened." The elder smiled. "Sometimes listening is the strongest act of all." As the sun rose over the hills of the hidden world, Ina stood with her people. Toma stood beside her, behind them. The mirror rested like an old warrior, finally at peace. But the story was not over yet. Far beyond their stars, something else had noticed the light returning, and it was coming. The peaceful quiet of the hidden world did not last long. Ina and Toma had just begun to understand the place where her people had taken refuge. The green hills and blue skies were beautiful, but danger was coming. Far beyond the stars, a dark shadow moved closer, hunting for the last living memory of the Norelli. Ina stood outside the large building where the elders lived. She watched the sky with a heavy heart. "They will come for me," she said softly. Toma joined her, his eyes full of concern. "Who will come?" "The hunters," Ina answered. "The machines that take memories. They want to collect all living knowledge. My people feared them for many years. They tried to hide here, but the hunters are strong." Toma clenched his fists. "We will not let them take you. We must prepare." The elders had already begun to organize defenses. Though the Norelli had once been peaceful, they understood that survival required strength now. They taught Ina how to use the ancient technology hidden under the planet's surface. This technology was different from human machines. It responded to living energy and memory. Ina's mother had left many secrets in the knowledge orb. As Ina studied it, she learned to activate shields that shimmered like glass walls and traps that could confuse enemies by bending light. The mirror, now resting on the landing pad, was repaired by both humans and Norelli using their combined skills. Days passed quickly as everyone worked. Toma helped teach the Norelli about human weapons and tactics, while Ina shared her people's unique powers. The bond between them grew stronger. They were not just strangers, they had become a team. One night, a warning alarm echoed through the settlement. Ina's heart raced. The sky darkened with ships. Not many, but enough to threaten them. The hunters had found their home. Toma stood beside Ina, ready. "We will face them together," he said firmly. The enemy ships landed, releasing coal machines that spread across the fields. These machines scanned everything, searching for living memories. Their metal arms moved silently, collecting samples and data. But the Norelli were ready. Ina raised her hands, and the ground round the machines shimmered. Invisible forces slowed their steps and made their sensors fail. The humans fired carefully, disabling some machines before they could react. Toma moved through the battlefield with skill, guiding the fighters and repairing damaged shields. Ina focused on protecting the elders and children. She sang the song her mother taught her, a melody that carried power. The song made the shields glow brighter and strengthened the fighters' spirits. The hunters sent more machines, stronger and faster. Some broke through the defenses and reached the settlement. Ina met them with energy beams formed from her own life force. She felt the pain of each strike but did not stop. Toma saw her struggle and shouted, "Keep going. We can win." Slowly, the enemy machines began to retreat. The hunters were not used to resistance. They expected to collect memories easily. But here, they faced living will and unity. After the battle, Ina sat with Toma under the stars. Her body was tired, but her spirit was alive. "They will come again," she said. "But now we have shown them we will fight." Toma smiled gently. "And we will be ready." The fight had changed them both. Ina was no longer a frightened girl lost in space. She was a leader rising from the ashes. Toma was more than a technician. He was a protector and friend. Together, they looked toward the future, a future where humans and Norelli could stand side by side, defending hope against the darkness. The battle had changed everything. The hunters had retreated, but they were not gone for good. Ina and Toma knew that the time to leave this planet was near. The hidden world, with its soft blue skies and green hills, was no longer safe. The enemy machines would return stronger, and the Norelli people could not fight forever. Toma stood on the landing pad, looking at the damaged Mira. The ship had been repaired, but the engines were weak. They needed to find a faster way to escape, and there was only one chance. The wormhole nearby. Ina joined him, holding the glowing orb that held her mother's knowledge. The wormhole is dangerous, she said. Many ships tried to pass and failed. It twists time and space, but it is our only way. Toma nodded. Then we have to try. I will do everything I can to get us through. They spent hours preparing. The ship, Ina connected the knowledge orb to the ship's core. The orb pulsed softly, sending waves of energy through the circuits. Toma adjusted the controls, trusting in his instinct to guide him. When they were ready, the Mira moved toward the wormhole. Outside, stars stretched into long lines as they neared the swirling vortex. The ship trembled, and the air inside felt thick. Ina began to hum softly, the song her mother had sung. Her voice was calm but full of strength. The melody filled the ship, wrapping around every wire and panel. The wormhole's colors twisted and turned like a spiral of light and shadow. Toma gripped the controls tightly, watching the readings carefully. The ship's shields flickered as they entered the rift. Inside the wormhole, time seemed to slow. The past and present mixed. Toma saw flashes of memories, Ina as a child, laughing in fields of glowing plants, her mother standing proud under two suns, and himself fixing broken machines on Earth. And the song grew louder, steadying the ship's movement. The wormhole listens to truth, she said. It reflects what is inside us. Toma felt a calm he had never known. Together, they guided the Mira through the twisting path. Suddenly, a flash of light blinded them. The ship shook violently. Alarms blared. Toma struggled to keep control. When the shaking stopped, the stars looked different. They were in a new part of space. A green and silver planet loomed ahead. Surrounded by 3 moons, Toma scanned the surface. There were signs of life, small. Cities, forests, and strange lights. We made it, he said, relief filling his voice. Ina smiled softly. This is Cyril, the last refuge. My people built this place as a sanctuary. As they approached, a gentle signal came through the comm system. A voice spoke in his language. You carry the song. You carry Ina. You are welcome. Toma looked at Ina. They know you. Tears filled her eyes. Not all, but enough to start again. The Mira landed smoothly on a glowing platform. Figures stepped forward, tall and graceful, with skin like Ina's but older. Their eyes shone with wisdom and hope. An elder woman approached Ina. She spoke in a warm voice. Daughter of Ellen, we waited for your light. Ina stepped forward. The elder touched her head gently. A breeze swept around them. Toma watched quietly. He felt a deep peace. They had brought Ina home. The elder turned to Toma. You spoke her name with truth. You carry a piece of her mother's wish. You are more than a visitor. You are a guardian of memory. Toma nodded humbly. I just listened. The elder smiled. Sometimes, listening is the strongest act. As dawn broke over Cyril, Ina stood with her people. Toma stood beside her. Behind them, the Mira rested like a loyal friend. But beyond the stars, shadows still moved. The story was far from over. The sun rose slowly over the peaceful land of Cyril. Ina stood on a gentle hill, looking at the horizon where the sky met soft green fields. Round her, the Norelli people gathered, their faces full of hope and quiet joy. For the first time in many years, their home felt alive again. Toma stood nearby, watching Ina. He saw how she had changed. The frightened girl who had woken in a cold cargo pod was now a strong woman. She moved with purpose and kindness. She was ready to lead her people into a new future. Ina's thoughts went back to the moment she had first heard her name spoken by Toma, Ina. It was more than a sound. It was a key that unlocked her memories and her spirit. Only her mother had called her that name, and now a human stranger had done the same. That name had saved her. As the people prepared for a celebration, Ina spoke. With the elders, they told stories of the past and plans for rebuilding. They spoke of trust between the Norelli and humans, a bond stronger than fear. Toma listened carefully. He knew their journey was only beginning. That evening, Ina invited Toma to walk with her through the gardens of Cyril. Soft lights glowed from flowers, and the air was filled with a sweet scent. They walked quietly, sharing the comfort of the moment. Toma, Ina said softly, when you said my name the way my mother did, something inside me changed. It gave me hope. It made me believe that not all humans would forget us. Toma smiled. I did not know I could have such power. I only spoke what you told me, but I'm glad it helped. Ina looked at him with deep gratitude. It helped me more than you know. Suddenly, a distant hum filled the air. The peaceful night was broken by the sound of engines. Ina and Toma turned to see a fleet of ships arriving in the sky. They were not hunters. They were ships of the United Earth Coalition. A commander stepped forward and sent a message. We have received your signal and come to offer aid. The story of the Norelli and your survival has moved many. We seek peace and alliance. And his eyes widened. The humans who had once hidden her now returned openly. The chance to rebuild ties was real. Toma spoke to the commander. We welcome your help, but trust must be earned, not demanded. The commander nodded, agreed. We will work together. Over the next weeks, humans and Norelli shared knowledge and technology. Toma helped repair communications and explore new ways to protect the hidden world. Ina led her people with courage and grace. One day, Ina visited a memorial built for her mother and all those who had fought to save their people. She placed a hand on the stone, feeling a quiet strength. My mother's name is more than a memory, she whispered. It is a promise. Toma joined her. And your name is a beacon for all who hear it. Ina smiled, her eyes shining. Thank you, Toma, for listening, for fighting, for saying my name. The stars above twinkled softly. The future was uncertain, but it was bright. Ina, Toma, and their people stood ready to face it together. In a universe filled with darkness, sometimes the smallest name could bring the greatest light.